Hello everyone. On Linux environments, there are times where you run programs or any commands, and these commands can take a long time to complete. And many times you might want to apply a timeout to these commands and you want to terminate them after some given time limit. In order to achieve this, if you're on Linux, you can use a command called timeout. Not many people know about the existence of this command. This command is available in GNU coreutils package. So on all the standard Linux environments, it's very likely that most of your basic commands, the file management and shell script helper commands are provided by GNU coreutils. And if you have that package installed, which is the default on most Linuxes, you will find a tool called timeout. This command can be used to apply a timeout for any program that is launched through this particular tool. So I'm going to show you a demonstration of how to use this. And for this demo, I'm going to use a shell script which I had used earlier for my earlier video, which is a simple loop.sh. And this particular script basically runs a loop that runs for 20 seconds. And you can also terminate this particular process by delivering a signal. So, when it's terminated by a signal, it actually runs a signal handler, and this prints the message called caught a signal canceling and exits from this particular part midway. So, I'm just going to run this script through this timeout to demonstrate how you can apply a timeout to this script. If you run the script without a timeout, it takes about 20 seconds to complete by default. We just run this simple loop.sh. It does nothing but it just runs a counter that counts from 1 to 20, and you have to wait until it completes. Yeah, 20 seconds is a long wait, but you should be able to kill it after some timeout. So mostly, if at all you want to manually kill it, you can use the kill command, like I showed you in one of my earlier videos on handling signals in Bash script. So there, I told you how you can kill this particular script midway by delivering a signal, and the signal handler gets invoked instead. But this time, the script just completed to its entirety, counting up to 20. But for now, if at all I want the script to finish in 3 seconds. If it takes more than 3 seconds, I want this script to be terminated by a signal automatically. For that, you can simply use timeout, specify the number of seconds. That's a very simple syntax, is you can just specify the number of seconds. The seconds can be in floating point. Maybe you can say 3.5 seconds if you want to terminate the script. If it exceeds beyond 3.5 seconds, then you can say timeout 3.5 followed by the program. In this case, the shell script. Remember, inside the shell script, this can be any Unix command, any tool, right? So when I say timeout 3.5, simple loop.sh, just see what happens. You can see the count runs up to 3 iterations, and it also counted 4. I think by time 3.5, right? It counted 4, and you can see it got terminated, and you can see it caught a signal canceling. That signal handler is also invoked. This is a very convenient way to apply timeouts for many tools and utilities, right? In the script here, you can also make some customizations to check whether it's being timed out or whether it's killed by a signal or whether it has terminated gracefully. For that, I just make a small modification to the script, and all I do here is I'll call this, instead of cancel, I'll just call this as, maybe I'll call this cleanup. And within this cleanup function, which is going to be run as a signal handler, I can get the exit status of the shell. For that, I'm going to store it in a variable. I'll call it as exit status equals dollar question mark. Dollar question mark will maintain the exit status of the last running command. In this case, when you deliver a signal, the exit status will be embedded in this particular variable. I'm just storing it in another variable called exit status. Dollar question mark will get updated if I run any other commands in here. That's the reason I'm saving it in a variable. And after that, I can actually use a condition. I can say if dollar exit status. I can use dollar exit status minus LT, that's less than. There's a script's way of telling less than condition for numerical condition checks. And you can say if the exit status is less than 128, yeah, it's a magic number. Then I can just print a message. Exited, exiting normally with exit status, dollar exit status. Okay, you can just use this condition here, and else I can also put this message, caught a signal, and the signal number, I want to represent it like this, dollar double parenthesis exit status minus 128. And I'll also exit this as is, right? I'll also use exit and say dollar exit status here. Dollar exit status. Let me explain what I'm doing here. Normally, when the script exits gracefully without any signals, it could have an exit status of 0, 1, 2, 3, depending on what exit command you use. If you don't use any exit command in your shell script to explicitly exit with an exit code or exit status, it'll exit with exit status 0. But you have an option to say exit 1, exit 2, exit 3, to represent different exit conditions. Maybe there's some failure in your script and you want to exit with exit code, which is some number, which is other than 0, you could represent that. So the exit value that is there, exit status that is there, is a value from 0 to 127, right? But if at all the process or this particular script in this case is terminated by a signal to indicate that there was a signal that was responsible for terminating this process, the cleanup function will basically embed the signal by adding it to 128. So that's why I'm checking if the exit status is less than 128, it's a graceful normal exit without a signal. But if the value is 128 or above, it's very likely it exited because of a signal. And the signal number you can get by just subtracting 128 from the exit status variable, which is $, which is stored in this variable, right? So, and here, by the way, I'm using an arithmetic expansion here. If you're not aware of shell scripts, I guess, in Bash and KSH and also in Z shell, you can use double parenthesis to perform some arithmetic expressions, right? Instead of using the expr command that you normally do in the traditional bone shell or traditional shells generally. So you can just use double parenthesis and the variable minus 128 will return what signal caused this particular script to terminate. And then, this function to be called. And I can also exit with the exit status sent to the parent this way. And I've registered this particular cleanup as the handler for term, hop, int, and I can also put for exit. Same function even for normal exit. And I'm just checking that condition internally. And I have a shell script, and this shell script I'm making run for 20 seconds. Let me drop it to 10 seconds. So let me just save this. If I run this shell script without any prefix like timeout prefix, you can see that the script runs, and after 10 seconds, you'll see a message being printed. You can see that it said exiting normally with the exit status 0. And the reason why I did that was because this condition was true. The exit status was a number. I think it was 0. So it actually took the exit status 0, and this condition was true. Therefore, they executed this particular code, whatever is there in the then block here. But if at all I deliver a signal, if any signal is delivered, it will go to the else clause and execute this. And we'll do that. I'll demonstrate that with timeout. Okay. So when I run this with the timeout command, I'll say timeout. I'll say 5 seconds / simple loop.sh. This will run for 5 seconds. It'll count up to five iterations. You can see that. It says terminated, caught a signal 15. You might wonder why this message is printed twice, because that function was called twice. It's a small bug, which you can sort of fix it if you apply some logic. So why it's called twice is because here in the signal handler, I'm calling exit. This exit will trigger cleanup for exit condition in your shell script. And again, this same function is called, prints this message one more time. That was the reason why this message got printed twice. Okay, but otherwise it's all the same. So coming back here, in this case, when I talk about timeout command, the simple usage of timeout is you can say timeout, the number in seconds, after which it has a timeout and deliver a signal. By default, you can see the signal number 15 is delivered, which is term signal. You can find that out by, again, you want to know what is signal number 15, just do a kill minus L or trap minus L, and you can see that sig term is signal number 15. This is a default signal that is delivered by timeout. Timeout has lots of options. For example, I want the timeout not to deliver term signal, but I want it to deliver an interrupt signal, like pressing Ctrl C on the keyboard generates interrupt signal to the foreground process. You want to deliver such a signal to your shell script, then you can use timeout minus S second, followed by number of seconds, followed by the program, in this case, the shell script. You can see it says got a signal 2. The 2 is nothing but the in signal, the second. So you can specify what signal must be delivered after a given timeout. By default, it is term signal, but you can change it to deliver SIGINT or SIGHUP or SIGQUIT, any signals of your choice. Though you have to use proper thought process to figure out what signals you have to deliver. Mostly, it makes no logical sense to use SIGIL and CHLD or so on. They are meant for specific purposes, but mostly you'll use SIGINT, SIGQUIT, SIGHUP, or SIGTERM. You can also use SIGKILL. If at all you want to terminate, force kill this process, which does not give the script an opportunity to run the signal handler. If you don't want the signal handler of the script to be executed, so you want to force kill this process, you can say timeout minus S, and you can just type SIGKILL here. Oh, it's not called SIGKILL. Oh, okay, I forgot the timeout here. Let's say 3 seconds. You can see the signal handler is not called. It did not say caught a signal. The script was forcefully terminated. No opportunity or option is given for the shell script to run its handler, right? As I told you in one of my earlier videos that SIGKILL and SIGSTOP cannot be handled by your program, right? So that's what you see here. And the syntax again is timeout. Optionally, you can say what signal you want to deliver by using a minus S signal name. You can also put a signal number if you know the number, followed by the timeout value in seconds, followed by the command here. In this case, I'm using a shell script, but it can be any arbitrary Linux or Unix commands, right? It can be a long-running tar command, or you're trying to connect via SSH to a remote machine, and the SSH is going to time out after 300 seconds, but you don't want to wait till 300 seconds, but you want to time out in 5 seconds. For all this, you can use the timeout command, right? Sometimes, if you run some command like ping and some IP address, right? I think this IP address don't work. Let's see, 8.8.8.8. By default, ping runs forever. But you want to time out this ping after a while, ping has a minus C switch. But if assuming a command does not have a switch to exit after some time, it runs forever. All these commands that run forever, you want to time out after a given timeline, you can actually use prefix with timeout like this. Timeout and 3 seconds. Because the ping command got a sig term after 3 seconds and it just exited out, right? By default. So this is how you can use timeout. You should also note that the value that you pass here, the timeout value that you pass here can be a floating point value. I gave an integer, it can be 3.02 seconds, or you can provide that granularity. I guess I'm not tested with nanoseconds, but I think it should work with milliseconds or microseconds if you have an option for that. Secondly, you can also provide the granularity in minutes, hour, or days, right? For that, you can use a suffix here. For example, I want to time out after 3 minutes. I can just put a 3M like this. It's going to make this command run up to 3 minutes before terminating this command, right? I will not wait for 3 minutes and run this, but this is how it works. Actually, you can try 0.01 minute, perhaps. I think that'll be like 6 seconds, I hope, or let's see. Yeah, 6 seconds. If it's like 1 minute is 60 seconds, so 0.1 will be 6 seconds. Remember, it's floating point, so you have to take care of that calculation. You can also use a Other option is you can also use R for representing the timeout in hours. You can actually use H as a suffix. To say days, you can say D as a suffix, a number followed by the suffix. So to know more about all these extra features that timeout offers, you can also try timeout minus help. This provides a complete details about the timeout command and all the switches it offers. So you can say timeout, option, duration, command, and command arguments, right? So it start the command and kill it if it's still running after the duration. And as you can see below, the duration is a floating point number with an optional suffix. Yes for seconds, that's a default. If you don't specify the suffix, it is considered as seconds. But you can provide a suffix called M for minutes, all small letters, okay? M for minutes, H for hours, or D for days. A duration of 0 disables associate timeout. If you just say like say 0D, it's going to run forever, right? And upon timeout, a term signal is given to the command. If no other signal is specified, term signal kills any process that does not block or catch the signal. It may be necessary to use a kill signal since the signal can't be caught. So if you want to forcefully terminate a process, you can use -S kill, right? Or sick kill. And all the options are shown here. To know more about this command with examples for variety of these options, you can also, if at all you have the info package reader installed on Linux, you can also use info coreutils and just pass on the command timeout on your terminal, right, on your shell prompt. So if you have an info reader, the same thing is provided like a man page, which you can scroll down, but they also give you some elaborate details on how to use it with examples, as you can see here. Timeout 20 sleep 1, timeout -S int 5, and that means -S like deliver in signal. That's in signal after 5 seconds to this command, right? So you can actually look at all those examples in here. Something to note, a side note, is that this works for external commands. Timeout can be applied only for external commands. I guess in most of your modern shells, you have a read built-in, shell built-in. For example, I can just say read A to wait for user input. So whatever type goes into the variable, or simply call read. Or just read user input. Remember that this is a shell built-in. Read is a shell built-in. It is not some external program. Commands like this, you cannot use timeout because timeout is an external tool. It's an external utility. It'll only work for external commands. So if you try to do a timeout and timeout for 5 seconds while reading for user input, it doesn't work because it doesn't. It could not locate a program called read. That's why it throws this error, right? This is one limitation you should know about. Of course, I believe that if you're using read and you want to time out a read, I think read has a switch to timeout. I think you can do a read minus timeout. Is it called minus timeout? Let me just verify that. We do a help read. It's a bash built in. There are lots of these options. I think it's minus T. So you can just do a read minus T. Specifically for the shell built in, you can just read minus T and 3 seconds and 8. It's one timeout of 3 seconds. Yeah. So instead of using the timeout command, you can just simply use the minus T switch when you're using read command. But for every other external tools and utilities that you run on Linux, if at all you Linux or any Unix where GNU coreutils package is installed, you can actually use the timeout to time out any of these long-running programs. I hope you found this video useful. If you do like this video and if you like more videos like these, you can hit the like button and also subscribe. Thank you very much. Hope may I meet you in the next one.